Hello children, welcome back to our EVS class. So we are discussing the chapter Our Body and we discussed about our skull, vertebral column, ribs, arms and legs. Now we have to discuss now we are going to discuss about joints. Joints are the points where two bones are joined together. Okay, so joints are the point where two bones are joined together. See, two bones are joined together. That is a joint. There are different movable and immovable joints in our body. But most of them are movable joints. So in our body there are joints which can move. Okay, joints which can move and joints which cannot move. In our body there are different types of bones, that is movable and immovable. But most of the joints are movable joints. Some examples of immovable joints are skull. Okay, skull is a immovable joint which we discussed in our last class, that skull does not allow any movement, only our jaw. Okay, only our lower jaw allows a movement for eating and speaking. Other than that, skull does not allow any movement. So an example of immovable joint is our skull. Our elbows, shoulders and knee joints are an example of movable joints. So our elbows, okay, our elbows here in this part, okay, this is our elbow. Our knees, this is our knee. Our shoulders are examples of movable joints, isn't it? Our elbows can move, our knees can move, our shoulders can move, isn't it? So these are an example for movable joints. Then our body has three types of joints. Okay, our body has three types of joints. First, we said that there are different movable and immovable joints. And now we are going to discuss that joints are of different types. Let's check the first one, that is hinge joint. A hinge joint is helpful in moving the bones back and forth. Okay, so hinge joint is helpful for moving the bone back and forth, means front and back. Okay, with the help of hinge joint we can move the bone front and back. It works same as a socket of door. Okay, you have seen a socket of door, right? A door can be opened and closed, isn't it? A door can be opened and closed. In the same way, hinge joint allows movement back and forth. Hinge joints are found in elbows, fingers, knees and toes. You can see that elbows can come front and back, isn't it? Our fingers also in the same way. But it cannot move in another direction. It cannot fold back, isn't it? We can fold our elbows front, but we cannot fold our elbows to the back. In the same way, our fingers, our knees and our toes. The next one is pivot joint or pivot joint. This joint lie between skull and vertebra. Okay, there is a small portion between skull. What is skull? The head part, isn't it? The bone which covers our brain. And what is vertebra? The backbone. Okay, so there is a space between a skull and a first vertebra. We said that there are 30 vertebrae, 33 vertebrae, isn't it? So there is a joint between our skull and the first vertebra. So it is helpful in moving our head up and down, right and left. Due to the presence of pivot joint only, we can move our head up, down, left or right. Okay, so just try. If you don't have that pivot joint there, you cannot move your head. So pivot joint helps in the movement of our heads. Next is gliding joint. With the help of gliding joint, bones can slip on one another. Okay, with the help of gliding joint, bones can slip on one another. With the help of gliding joint, we can rotate, turn and rotate left and right our back and can rotate the wrist and ankles. Isn't it? Because of gliding joint, we can rotate our wrist, isn't it? Rotate our wrist. See, this is the wrist portion. We can rotate here, right, children? Just try it out. We can rotate our wrist and we can also rotate our knees and ankles also in same way. Okay, ankles, the foot part, that also we can rotate. It is because of gliding joint. Then the next one is ball and socket joint. Okay, it's like this. Ball and socket joints. Okay. With the help of this joint, the maximum speed can be done, such as the hip joint and the shoulder joint. In such types of joint, the round end of one fits into a hole or socket of another bone. So, with the help of this joint, the maximum speed can be done. In our hip joint, in our shoulder joints, we can move it in a 360 direction, isn't it? We can move in all direction, our hip, our shoulder and all. It is due to the presence of ball and socket joint. In such type of joints, the round end, see, like this only, the round end of a joint fits on the hole or socket of the other bone. So that is about ball and socket. So these are the things which we have to learn about skeleton. In skeleton, we learned about different types of bones, isn't it? Skeleton means arrangement of bones in our body that gives support. Okay, then we learn different types of bones: skull, rib cage, vertebra, column or backbone, arms and legs, joints. And in joints, we learned different types of joints: ball and socket joint, gliding joint, pivot joint, and hinge joint. Next, we are going to discuss about muscles. Okay, we are going to discuss about muscles. Muscles are made up of tough elastic tissues and are connected by bones by strong fibers. So, muscles are made up of tough elastic tissues. They are tough elastic tissues. They are connected to bone. Okay, all our muscles are connected to bone by strong fibers. By strong fibers, all the muscles are connected to the bone. These fibers are called tendons. Okay, we said that all our muscles are connected to bone by strong fibers. All our muscles are connected to bone by strong fibers. These fibers are called tendons. We can only move through the contraction and spread our body muscles. Okay, so we can move, or we are moving through the contraction and spread of our body muscles. If muscles are not there, we cannot move. If muscles are not there and they have no contraction, we cannot move. So we can only move through the contraction and spread of our body muscles. We can only move through the contraction and spread of our body muscle. There are various types of muscles in our body, such as voluntary muscles, involuntary muscles, and cardiac muscles. Okay, so there are various types of muscles in our body, such as voluntary muscles, involuntary muscles, and cardiac muscles. Let's check what is voluntary muscles. The muscles whose movements are controlled by our desire are called voluntary or skeletal muscles. Okay, the muscles whose movements are controlled by our desire, which if we wish to move that muscle, then only that muscle will move. Okay, it is by our desire, our wish, it is by our decision. Okay, the muscles whose movements are controlled by our desire. Okay, if we want to move, or if we move to, or if we wish to move this muscle, if we want to move our muscle in hands, okay, it will then only move, right? Without our knowledge or without our wish, our hands does not move. So such muscles are known as voluntary muscles or skeletal muscles. These bones are connected with our bones. Okay, so these muscles are connected with our bones. With the help of these muscles, we can talk, move, and eat. So, with the help of voluntary muscles only, we can talk, move, and eat. Okay, without without the presence of voluntary muscles, we cannot move, we cannot talk, we cannot eat. So, voluntary muscles are the muscles whose movements are controlled by our desire are called voluntary or skeletal muscles. The second one is involuntary muscles. The muscles whose movements are not controlled by our desire are called involuntary muscles or smooth muscles. So later, in the earlier we said that voluntary muscles, they only move with our desire, or they only move with our control. Okay, but in the case of involuntary muscles, it's just opposite, whose movements are not controlled by our desire. Means it moves on its own. It moves whenever the need comes. So these types of muscles are found in our eyes, intestines, okay, our small intestine and large intestines, which are helped in digestion. Okay, they are intestines. So these muscles are found in eyes, intestines, and our blood vessels. So involuntary muscles are the muscles whose movements are not controlled by our desire. These are called involuntary or smooth muscles. And these are found in eyes, intestines, and blood vessels. Then the last one is cardiac muscle. Our heart muscles are called cardiac muscles. Okay, the muscles in our heart, the muscles present in our heart are called cardiac muscles. These are also involuntary muscles. We are not controlling our heart muscles, right? We are not controlling our heart. So, cardiac muscles are also involuntary muscles. They do not work according to our desire. Okay, that is They do not work according to our desire. They do not work when we wish to work. They work on their own. So we learned about muscles and we learned about three types of muscles. They are voluntary, involuntary and cardiac muscles. So that's all in our chapter. So these are the things which we learned in our chapter. Now let's just go through the main points we discussed all over the chapter. We said that our body is made up of bones and muscles. Skeleton is a structure of bones, and skeleton gives shape and support to our body. It gives a shape and it gives a support to our body. Skull. Then we said about skull. Skull, which is a type of skeleton. Skull protects the brain from being damaged. Our skull protects the brain. Then we said about backbone. It supports and projects the spinal cord. So backbone supports and protects the spinal cord. Our skull protects the brain. Backbone protects and gives support to the spinal cord. Then we learned about a rib cage. That is, there is a cage type structure called rib cage. It protects the lungs and heart. So rib cage protects our lungs and heart. There are one pair of arms and one pair of legs in our body. So there are one pair of arms and one pair of legs. One pair means there will be two. Okay. So there are one pair of arms and one pair of legs in our body. Then we said about joints. Joints are the points where two bones are joined together. Then at the last we discussed about muscles. Voluntary muscles work according to our desire, while involuntary muscles does not. Cardiac muscles are present in our hearts. So that's all in this chapter. So far we have discussed about skeleton and muscles. So your first chapter in EVS is completed. And the next chapter we'll be discussing in our next class. So that's all for today, children. Thank you.